We have priests using the product for their church.
Now that's a power user.
Are people praying to Beside? Is that what's happening?
He has so many inbound for the church. The Beside use case is actually amazing for him.
It seems like everyone in tech is building for themselves. But there's one startup building for everybody else. The real economy, as they call it, who spend all their time on their phones, not Zoom calls and Google Docs. This week on Access, we talked to Maxime Germain from Beside, a new service that replaces your phone and messages app with AI. Everything Google Voice should have been? We go through it all, from the virtues of being a French founder to the rise of the green bubble and building for the real economy, not just tech bros. But first, Alex and I react to the week's hottest topics, from ChatGPT's Code Red to Instagram's Choose Your Own Algorithm and Netflix versus YouTube?
The fake economy.
That's how they see it, at least. Without further ado, this is Access. Let's get into it.
Ellis, did you ever have a Code Red when you were at Snap?
I think so. The night of the Sony leak, when all of Evan's emails leaked and Mr. Private was on full public display, I think that was definitely qualified as Code Red.
Mr. Private? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He didn't say anything back then.
That's true. Yeah. So, yeah, Code Reds are a thing in Silicon Valley. Everyone's been reading and hearing about this OpenAI Code Red. It's gotten a lot of headlines in the last week, and deservedly so, because it's an interesting
so funny.
story.
It doesn't help when you call it that internally, does it?
No. I mean, you're begging for that to be leaked. That is actually a thing, though. That's like these companies do Code Reds. There was a Code Orange before the Code Red, right? It's an escalating code system. And really, it's like a focus exercise. It's like, especially OpenAI, they have a ton of stuff going on. Focus on the core, which is ChatGPT, because as I and others have been reporting, ChatGPT is starting to have some growth problems because of competition from Gemini, but also the moderation constraints that they've been putting on the product, where it won't say things that it used to say. And that's been hurting time spent. I thought there was a really interesting story, though, in the Wall Street Journal recently that shed more light on this Code Red, and I wanted to get your reaction to it, Ellis. Because basically what it's saying is that in this internal memo that Sam Altman wrote to the OpenAI employees, that part of the work they're going to be doing on ChatGPT in the coming weeks is a, quote, better use of user signals, which is apparently just using the data of how people are using ChatGPT to reinforce how the product works. And amazingly, they weren't really doing this, I guess, before. And this is actually like very contentious internally. Where you've got these high-minded kind of, we're on the path to AGI research people, and then all the product people that they brought in from big tech. And they're going to be doing basically, I mean, I read this as like ChatGPT is going to get more engagement baity, and where it always asks to continue the thread, where it's always like, can I do another thing for you? Like, we're only going to see more of that. It's only going to go more that direction. That's what I read in this story, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Alex, it seems like you've had a rough week. Would you like to buy the new Hailey Bieber smoothie at Erewhon with this coupon?
That's agentic, yeah. It's agentic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily read it as like getting more sycophantic, since that was such a polarizing issue and probably a bad product experience as well, since it's actively lying to you. And on the one hand, you could call all advertising lying to you, but I think the way that I read this is just kind of like all the announcements they've been making about plugging directly in to different shopping services to let you check out. I think maybe it's just going to be even more personalized and proactive. I mean, I was using it yesterday to research camera lenses, as the average sad dad does. And I got my first like Insta-buy checkout link through Etsy, where you could complete the whole process. And I mean, they just have this infinite trove of information about you and your questions. This is what's made Google so powerful all these years. It's not just the stuff that you look at, but the things that you have intent to know more about and buy. And I would just expect them to dial that stuff up a little bit.
But there are people, I think this is a coming culture clash, because there are people in these AI labs who feel very differently about this technology than the technology that underpinned Google and Instagram being able to do an instant checkout and have you buy that pair of shoes that you saw an ad for. Like, a lot of people inside these labs think they're building super intelligence, something like God, And there is a real, I think, clash there that this piece was getting into. And I thought it was important, where you've got Sam, who kind of represents the classic Silicon Valley VC archetype, Y Combinator, startup, ruthless competitor mentality. And then there are the people who, built OpenAI over the last 10 years, up until the last couple of years when it was a huge consumer company, have not thought that way. It's been a research project to build AGI. And so, yeah, I mean, should ChatGPT be more personalized to be a better product? Yes. Or is it going to be tempting, I think, for them to use the persuasiveness of this AI to build one of the most engaging, hard to get away from products of all time? Yeah, I think that's probably the thing they're trying to balance. And what this Code Red is probably going to show on the other side is where they land.
And I have some faith. I mean, with that cultural mix internally, while some folks are going to have a bad time, I think what's important is that that conversation is happening, and that with a leader like Sam at the helm, who seems to have some ideas of goals for society beyond engagement, I think I'm hopeful. I mean, he said on Jimmy Fallon the other day, Jimmy asked him, do you use ChatGPT when raising your baby? Sam says, I cannot imagine figuring out how to raise a newborn without ChatGPT. And I just have to agree 1,000%. First baby, up Googling content farms at 3 a.m., absolute nightmare inside of a nightmare because everybody's telling you something different. ChatGPT tells you kind of the synthesis of everything that it's hearing. And if it wants to have a buy button under the internet's top 5 favorite strollers, I'm fine with that.
So you're fine with engagement bait the hell out of it. It's fine.
I mean, we're going to have to figure out the right modality for it. I think what's good about it is that there's competition here, right? I think with Google, there's just so little competition over the years. They just made the shopping links, or Amazon for that matter. Before you know it, 3/4 of the page is shopping links. And so I also do think that healthy competition, including from Gemini, which is getting top placement in Google and in Chrome to come, I think they're probably going to be maybe a little bit less shoot first, ask questions later if people aren't responding to it.
Yeah, I did. We talked about it last week, Neuralips, that AI conference. I asked people there for
Neuralips,
which is basically the largest gathering of AI researchers in the world. It was in San Diego last week. I asked a bunch of people who were there to talk about kind of what people were discussing for sources this week, and Google was the ascendant. I mean, Google was the winner for sure. Everyone felt like Google was at the top, and OpenAI felt more shaky. So, yeah, OpenAI is definitely on its back foot a little bit. I mean, they still have approaching 900 million weekly users, so they're going to be okay. But it is fiercely competitive. The other thing, just to note, is that GPT 5.2 coming out probably this week is what I'm hearing. I don't expect it to be a huge thing. That's kind of tit for tat with Gemini, but I think OpenAI is betting on this model release in January with better images, multimodality, personality tweaking to be the thing that really gets them out of this Code Red. And it's interesting how much they're focusing on personality. It's like when you talk to Claude, you can really see the difference of how...
Do that thing you do, Alex. Say it.
Claude. When you talk to Claude, which I've been using Opus 4.5, which is an incredible model, but they don't do this personality stuff like ChatGPT. You can't have it talk to you like a nerd or concise or whatever. If anything, it's its own personality. It tells you you're staying up too late and just stop using me. So there's a real divergence in the product strategies where OpenAI is going more the Facebook route, I think, and Anthropic's doing something else. And I think that's good for the market. It's good to have that.
It raises an interesting question too, just in terms of behavioral science and consumer psychology. While Google does have their AI overviews at the top of every Google search now, they can only apply it to stuff that you're Googling, right? And so ChatGPT already just has this unbelievable Kleenex-like brand recognition where people are asking deep questions about their life. I'm not sure how you train people to start putting that into the Google search box. So unless they're going to get you over to Gemini, I think they do have that top placement. But even for ChatGPT versus the others, I do see this interesting tension. People ask me all the time about like, is AI going to be horizontal or vertical? And the more I think about it, I think people are not going to be super comfortable using one AI with all these different topics and all these different tones of voices about your life. Like, I've asked it for advice sometime, and then I'm like, can we switch gears to like working on my manifesto again? And it's just kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, it isn't how you would treat a person. And that's, I think, why a lot of people like have these hard walls with their therapist about the stuff that they do and don't talk about. It's because those tonal shifts and contexts really do matter. So, yeah, I wonder what metrics ChatGPT is seeing. Are people switching away? Are they using it less? I wonder even where that Code Red came from, because, I mean, I have a lot of faith that they just have so much staying power.
I know exactly where it came from because I've been reporting on this. They dialed back how sycophantic and rabbit holey the model was in August. It started tanking time spent. I reported on a call where they acknowledged this with investors a couple months later. They did Code Orange in like October. Gemini 3 came out in November. They do the Code Red, and now they're in Code Red. So it's a combination of like self-inflicted pain where they're trying to balance like growing with the bad externalities of that growth and more competition and Google waking up. So yeah, it's a hard time for Sema. Support for this show comes from Mercury. Running a business is hard work. That's why Mercury makes managing your money as simple as can be, with banking, cards, spend management, invoicing, and more all in one place. It's banking at its most intuitive. Visit Mercury.com to join over 200,000 entrepreneurs who use Mercury to simplify their finances. Mercury is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided through Choice Financial Group and Column NA members FDIC.
I think this is actually the perfect segue into this next topic. Like, how much control do you give users over how much junk food they want to eat? Tell us about this AI. I was going to say AI story.
It's an AI story.
We can call it an algorithm story. The old days of the algorithm where we only talked about algos.
Well, I just thought it was interesting that this week Instagram and Spotify had these announcements about basically making it your algorithm. So in Spotify's case, it's, you can prompt playlists, which they've been doing versions of, but I think the end state of what they're talking about is like you being able to dictate to Spotify what it recommends you. And then Instagram basically doing the same thing with the Reels algorithm where you can prompt it and change it. And it'll also show you what it thinks it knows about you. And you can share that. They're making that like a shareable social thing. So these models that power these feeds that really like intermediate our lives in a pretty profound way that we don't think about. They've been very like opaque for so long. And I think with all these platforms plugging in LLMs to redo their algorithms, they're like, oh, what if we just like ChatGPT-ify this? And in the same way that people prompt the hell out of their chatbots and their assistants, like why would you not just prompt your algorithm to be the thing that you want it to be, right?
Yeah, I think natural language settings for stuff like this is the bomb.
Yeah.
Like being able to ask for things within an app. Like one of the examples Spotify used is that you could say music from my top artists from the last 5 years, and then push it further with feature deep cuts I haven't heard yet. Like that is ostensibly something you could maybe hack together using like smart playlists in Apple Music if they even still work at all. But that's cool, right? Being able to use natural language to query that database. The thing though that just like really messes me up about this Spotify announcement, they said, imagine a Spotify that doesn't just passively learn from you, but literally listens to you. And it's like, man, is this not like what we've been asking from tech for the last 15 years to not just look at our clicks, but like listen to us about how we want to spend our lives and what feels good? Because we all know that when you're on the toilet, like, yeah, it's awfully easy to just click on whatever's most engaging. even if you know it's bad for you. When you're in a bad mood and you walk into the convenience store, it's so easy to just grab, whatever sweet treat you want to grab out of the aisle. And they've just made it so easy with so little control to have influence over it. And so I'll tell you my conspiracy theory, Alex. I would bet you that this whole Instagram thing where you get to choose your topics, I would bet you that at most this impacts like 30% of the algorithm. Like, I don't think they're willing to give over full control and let people say, actually, I don't want to see any more hot bodies. Actually, I don't want to see any more camera stuff because I always Insta-buy it. Actually, I don't want to see, I don't think they're willing to turn that over, though I do think this is a great step. And I'm honestly shocked that they're doing it. I wonder, what it says or what it means that they're doing this.
If anything, there's probably regulation in the EU or somewhere that's forcing them to do this, but who knows? I mean, it's cool. I'm excited to play with it. I did want to talk briefly about the big media news that everyone's talking about. I mean, it's everywhere. The Netflix, Warner Bros. Or Paramount thing. I mean, it's straight out
Literal
of
Succession episode.
It's straight. Yeah, you've got the.
See, we're completing each other's sentences, and we're not even at episode 15 yet.
Yeah, the Ellisons reminds me a lot of the Succession family. But I just think it's been interesting as we live in LA, we're I guess quote unquote tech people, to hear the way Netflix is trying to defend this deal, and they have to find a way to defend it because it is very bad monopolization of Hollywood, right? You're going to have the number one streamer combined with the 3 or 4 streamer, and just, there's going to be layoffs. There's going to be cost savings, as they call it, right? It's not going to be good in the short term for Hollywood. So I totally understand why people in Hollywood are against this. At the same time, I also don't understand why Netflix is going around to regulators in the press and going we have to do this because of YouTube, as if anything that people do on YouTube actually competes with the kind of time spent that you're talking about when you're watching Harry Potter, right? Maybe the world is that zero sum, and maybe growing YouTube usage is actually eating into that. And Netflix thinks that adding the Warner Bros. And HBO library will somehow steal time spent from YouTube. But I just don't see it. It's like comparing Erewhon and Costco or something. These are just totally different things. Yeah, you can go get groceries at both, but it's a totally different kind of customer. It's a totally different reason you go in the store.
Well, can you summarize that case? Can you put that in a sentence? We need blank to compete with YouTube.
They're basically, Netflix is making the argument that they need this content, this extra content and scale.
Harry Potter or...
Well, yeah, I mean, all the Warner Bros. And HBO stuff, because their real competition is not the rest of Hollywood, it's YouTube, which is what you say when you've conquered Hollywood. There's no one left in Hollywood that competes with Netflix at that scale. It's just Disney after them, and they have 100 million or so fewer subscribers. And so if you're in a Netflix position, it kind of reminded me of when I was in the courtroom for the Meta antitrust trial earlier this year, and they were talking about their competition is time spent across the internet, right? It's not quote unquote social media. Every big company, when they're trying to defend something that they're doing that's inherently bad for competition, will just point to the next biggest thing. But yes, maybe there's an argument that YouTube and Netflix are competitors. I can see it. I do spend a lot of time on YouTube, and maybe that does correlate to the time I spend on Netflix. But I just think people who work inside Netflix and YouTube know that the reason people come to their platforms are very different.
I just don't see how that's a lever to even improve on that advantage. If that is your competitor, you're we have the biggest content library and we need more in order to compete with YouTube. I think if anything, there's a medium difference. They're we need to acquire the world's biggest YouTube content owner or agency or whatever, it's a completely different habit, a completely different device most of the time, though I know YouTube is blowing up on TV.
Yeah, so maybe my
don't see how
maybe my Erewhon Costco analogy is not even right. It's the real analogy is Netflix is Costco and YouTube is going farming and farming your own groceries. These are just totally different things. YouTube is UGC, and Netflix pays a lot of money for its content. And to say that there are finite amount of hours in the day and people choose to spend that time. But YouTube is not, doing, K-pop Demon Hunters. Like YouTube's not doing the kind of stuff that's on Netflix. So to make the argument that like you need Warner Bros. To compete with YouTube, I think it's
That's
dumb.
actually funny because at the Hamburger House, and we'll close here, at the Hamburger House, if you can get a picture of that in your mind, we watch the like Netflix K-pop Demon Hunters, and then we switch over to YouTube to watch like every goddamn permutation of those songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are successfully using both platforms. Let's leave it there. That was some good news. After the break, we will have Maxime from Beside. We will see you there.
When I recently decided to start my own media business, I chose Mercury as my banking solution. And I want to tell you a little bit about how I use it day to day. The thing I love the most about Mercury is how simple it is. Setup was easy and pain-free. I love the way it shows my balance growth at a glance, and it's super easy to sync my transactions to my accounting software. A specific feature I love is the ability to upload receipts and have them automatically synced to the right transaction. That saves me a ton of time. The built-in invoicing feature has already come in handy too. I mostly use the Mercury mobile app to stay in sync with my business finances, but the desktop web interface is also the cleanest I've ever seen. If you want to see for yourself what Mercury can do for you and your business, visit Mercury.com to join over 200,000 entrepreneurs who use Mercury to simplify their finances. Mercury is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided through Choice Financial Group and Column NA members FDIC. Actually, I like the idea of Max just starting it. Max, can you just say what you said again?
Yeah, so I prepared a bit, and we sort of have a backstory with Ellis because we've met twice in real life, maybe 3 times, but 2 times that I remember. One time, I was very young. I think I was 21 or 22, and we met at this crazy party in New York, and Ellis was still a journalist at The Verge at the time, and our friend took us a little club in New York called The Box, where there was me, Ellis, Brian Chesky was here with us as well. It was a small group of like early consumer tech. It was really fun. It's called The Box, and the interior looks like that. And this is exactly the view me and Ellis had when we were there, because we were just sitting on that balcony up there. And the second time, Ellis, I don't know the name of the place, I don't know the restaurant, but we decided it was going to be the classic move when we come to LA. And it's, the picture is from that place that we went to
it's
together.
From Musso and Frank's Steakhouse.
It is.
What was Brian Chesky doing with you guys? Were you all at the same table? Like, what was the...
No, so I think we had the club for ourselves because Fred decided that it was going to be a private party. And I think at the time, Fred was hanging out a lot with Brian. Brian happened to be in town and he was in New York. So I had to go and get him at the door with Fred because he didn't know if it was really the right place that he should go into. So we came and picked up Brian at the door to get him upstairs at the private party with all of us, which was a crazy, crazy night.
I think that was like the latest I ever stayed up as a reporter. I was like, oh, this is clearly a special night. I'm going to be up on a school night until 4 a.m., but it's going to be completely worth it. I mean, I'd never been someplace like that. I mean, this is just also how much money there was in like the App Store boom of like 2010, 2011, 2012. I mean, there hasn't really been anything like that since. And while I do think the culture has changed, that was definitely a special night. And I guess you weren't yet on our level, Max. What were you doing at the time?
I was, part of the French mafia crew of early, French founders building consumer app in New York. I was hanging out a lot with Pierre Valade from Sunrise, Fred, who had Frontback at the time. I was running a company. I dropped out of school when I was 20. I was running my first startup from my office in Tribeca. And on the way back home with my red backpack, Fred calls me and tells me, you gotta come, you gotta join this party. So I went. So that's how I ended up there randomly.
Shout out Pierre.
Maybe you can answer, how come all my favorite product founders are French? This is something I've been wanting to know for a very long time. And you just mentioned a few of them.
Well, I do think I see you with a very European soul in many ways. So I think there is like there's probably in the European culture more of an emotional connection to the art, to great product. Um, there is a more depth in understanding, psychology of people and getting to understand these things. And I feel like a bunch of French founders, even those coming with a very technical background, still have this sensitivity and the ability to sort of like translate into tech to emotions to consumer, which work really well. And yeah, I do feel like that's something that I've always seen you appreciate in the way you appreciate product, in the way you talk with people, even in the work you do or what you're really good at. I do. You could be you could be European, you could be French in many ways.
It's the best compliment I've had all month. I think this actually reminds me of that night at Musso and Frank's, and I did want to ask about this, the difference between American founders and European founders or French founders, especially in AI. But I remember that night at Musso and Frank's, which is like a big steakhouse in LA that's kind of like old Hollywood. I remember just how like pumped you were to be there. And you were like, everybody's hustling, everybody's talking about business. And you're like, no one in France wants to talk about work over drinks. And I just like never thought about that. I mean, is that still true?
Yeah, it's super true. I think like once like people have work life balance, and they sort of like compartmentalize work and life, and when work is over they sort of like get into another mood where like you don't really want to bring work into that place, which I think can be great sometimes to disconnect, but also does not foster an environment where you're pumped by what you do, you're inspired by the people around you. There's kind of like a big downside to it, because I don't think it's necessarily about business, the things we want to talk about. I think we want to talk about these ideas, we want to talk about building, we talk about the craft. All of this is not only about making money or doing these things. And I feel like once you have, I guess like all the world that I evolve in, there's a lot more passion around what we do. So I kind of have that desire to talk about these things, not because I think it's work or it's business, but more because it's completely part of life, and there's so many interesting things going on. Doesn't necessarily have to be compartmentalized. So every time I'm in the US, I'm like reminded that I'm going to have tons of great discussions with people, and people are actually going to be optimistic and excited about the things that I do. So
I just want to hear Ellis talk in a French accent more. That's all I want to hear at dinner.
I think it started off well, and then it took a turn for the worst.
No, you were on track.
I just love it. Compartmentalize.
You think I'd speak with a better accent, knowing that I lived for 10 years in New York, but apparently I can't.
No, why would you want to talk like us, man? It's so boring.
Well, do you know about California English, Maxime?
It has more like vocal fry.
Well, yeah, but also there's just like this whole meme online. Like if you say like yes in California English is yeah, no, pretty much for sure. Can you try that in that accent?
All right, but in return, you're going to have to pronounce my name properly.
Okay. You go first.
Yeah, no, pretty much for sure, bro.
For sure.
Okay, so now my turn. Maxime Germain.
Germain.
Germain. Well, you typed huh, H-U-H.
Yeah, because I was trying to put you in the right
Germain.
track. But this
Germain.
is good, Germain, yeah. But I kind of like Maxime Germain, because as I told you, it looks like, feels good. Like if it sounds American to French people, it sounds cool.
On that thread, I mean, how do you feel as a European founder right now? I feel like there was a lot of momentum in the early AI boom, whether it was with Mistral or other AI startups in Europe. And I feel like I'm not hearing about quite as many. I mean, what does that feel like right now? What are the differences?
I don't even look at these things, to be honest, or I don't even consider us being European founders or no. Like we run a US business, have tons of people in the US. I spend a lot of time there as well. I guess there was a lot of noise early on, but I'm not sure, noise translate to actual value created, or that hype is actually the right driver you should be looking for. So I always try to, and we're in stealth for 18 months as a company, or like even 2 years. So I was trying to avoid that. And I don't participate in the scene at all in Paris. I might have like a couple of founders friends, but I'm mostly just working. So I'm kind of like out of that. I don't really have an opinion, if I'm being honest.
It is especially funny because do the grandmas and real estate agents that you're now serving with Beside know that there's some high fashion French guys building their favorite product?
I hope so. I hope they know that. I hope they feel it in the product at
Because I
least.
don't know if that's ever been done before.
Well, we do speak with them, and it's very interesting because I come from that world in many ways. I was born in a small town in Le Mans. All of my family work in the real economy. I don't come from the tech world. I don't come from a very knowledge worker background. So it doesn't feel super unfamiliar to me, because these are the people I grew up with. My first business was actually building websites for plumbers and for electrician and all the local businesses around me. So I just feel like that has just been a full loop to bring that back to these people.
I love when we call it knowledge work. It's like you don't need knowledge to be a plumber or to go out in the real world and do
Yeah,
something.
it's
It's super
it's
demeaning,
ridiculous.
honestly. Like it's just become
Yeah.
part of the vernacular, but it is kind of crazy when you think about it.
That's why I was looking for my words. I couldn't find the right way to put it. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and in full disclosure, Max and I have worked together for a couple of years now. He was actually one of my very first clients at Meaning, and now I'm advising. And one of my favorite things about it is that Max and the crew are bringing their level of thoughtfulness and even just like beautiful, beautiful UI design and brand design to an audience that doesn't usually get that type of love. I mean, I feel like when you look in the news and AI every day, it is almost exclusively stuff for other people in tech.
Knowledge
I'm curious, like,
workers.
how did you arrive at this whole real economy idea? And do you feel like they need it more than we do? They need the AI more than us? Because it certainly feels that way to me.
Yeah. Well, so, multiple things came together at once. One, there is this thing from Virgil Abloh that I love, who was saying like one of the best way to do design is to actually only tweak 3% of an existing product. And the best ideas are oftentimes a 3% tweak of an existing design. So the way we were considering this internally was that the product should be and feel very neutral to the daily drivers that they already have. So we really took iMessage as a base for the product. And we felt like if we were going to bring AI into these products, we should tweak the 3% of the UI of iMessage to bring that AI layer in it. Because if you're working off something that's already widely used and adopted, you're already working a lot of very familiar user experience patterns, user interface patterns that are known. And I think every time people are trying to build their own tools or have like tons of opinions in the way things should be, on 90%, I think it's too much. But if you go down to tweaking the 3%, you actually are able to drive a lot more impact for the end user. So that was kind of the philosophy, where we wanted to keep the product super horizontal and the design extremely neutral, taking a product that has billions of daily active users like iMessage and tweaking the 3% there. And I think then the thesis we had for the company was not that we would end up with product market fit for the real economy at all. I thought I was building for myself initially, but I kind of like really like this non-opinionated way of looking at if we bring AI into conversations, into a mobile product where all of your conversations would be recorded, where you would have sort of second brain from all of this conversation, where the AI could answer phones for you, the phone for you, or take action based on that conversational data, for whom would it be the most valuable? And we reversed engineered that before launching the product. We started by launching ads, talking about the feature set without saying for whom it was. And what we learned as we were building the V0 of the product was that or it would likely be successful with people working in the real economy, because they were the people the most excited about the feature set we were building. And even the way we keep building, we build in the less opinionated way as possible, and we completely surrender to the signal we get from the market and from the users and from usage and all these different things.
What is the real economy as you define it?
Well, at the moment, it's people who are not working behind a laptop, but for whom conversations is where business happen. So you can take that in many ways, because the product market fit that we have today, the number one user using the product 250 times a day is an insurance group. And it's the person answering the phone for an insurance group who's always on the go. They're always on their phone. They need the context of their conversation. We have priests using the product for their church.
Now that's a power user.
Power user.
Hold on. Are people praying to Beside? Is that what's happening?
No, he has so many inbound for the church and so many things to remember about the schedule of people or the things they talk about and like all this stuff, that he wants this conversation to happen in Beside, so he can offer back an amazing, meaningful experience when he has a conversation with all of these people reaching out. They're often reaching out for help or for personal matters. So the Beside use case is actually amazing for him.
Do people know that it's not him? Because you can train with your app, you can train it to be in your voice, right?
So you have two things, right? You have the AI Receptionist, that is one part of what we offer. The second part is all of your phone conversation are actually recorded, transcribed, and summarized. So what we've done is that we've rebuilt, phone and texting from scratch. One brick is the AI Receptionist, but that's only one of the bricks. You then have full-on recorder and transcriber on phone calls. So sometimes actually just him picking up the phone and not the AI Receptionist. But the AI Receptionist that he filled with tons of data from the Bible and like specific things that he wants, the receptionist to say, which is one of the crazy use case we have. But there are tons, of like weird use case in the product that we see.
Well, it's not in his voice though, right?
You can do voice cloning, but for him, the use case is him talking actually, yeah.
It's really interesting to me because I think sitting at our desks every day as tech fans and builders, you kind of just assume everybody's a little bit like you sitting at a desk. And when, all these different meeting recorder companies come out, you feel like it's commoditized. And then you realize it's like, wait, there's all these people who aren't using Slack or Google Meet or Zoom. They're literally using their phone. And I think that's one of the other cool things that you've done is that so many companies in AI these days are building wrappers, which may be fine if you build the right UX or UI for a specific vertical, you fine tune it, et cetera. But you also have that actual technical innovation of, like, as you said, rebuilding the telephony stack, allowing people to get a new phone number. Can you tell us about building that in the year 2025? Because as far as I know, nobody's tried that in a minute, but maybe I'm wrong. I feel like that was always kind of the Google Voice dream or something like that, and then it just kind of fell by the wayside.
Yeah. I think there are two things to that. One is where you're right is you kind of want to be able to, if everything's going to be commoditized and if the models are only going to get better, and if we think about the context of AGI and on the way to AGI, what do we need to solve to actually be able to deliver what we all think AGI can be? I think there is a big part of that that's going to be the life context of your life, everything happening in your life. And one of the contexts that is hard to capture is conversations. So on macOS or on your desktop, it's a lot easier because you can record at the OS level, and we've seen all of these bots coming, etc. But when you come to the mobile phone and when you come to trying to record a phone conversation, it gets quite hard because you don't have access to it by default on iOS or on Android. So you really have to be able to power entirely the phone number and all the infra going behind that phone number. Now that we power, I think it's like 2.5 million phone calls every month. We're talking to like the infrastructure provider. We're working with them. We're talking with the right lawyers in the space to build all of that. And so to power that at scale, it's a team of 5 people in the company. It's probably the biggest moat that we'll create because both on the regulatory side and the technical side, it's extremely difficult to build.
How excited are you to sell the company to Verizon?
They're looking into that actually. Like many of these, they're all reaching out to run pilots with AI companies because they understand some of these things and they actually want to see like what kind of AI feature we can offer to some premium plans for these people. I find it to be super interesting.
Yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways, what you've built, especially being inspired by iMessage and the phone app, just reveals how much there is that Apple and Google just haven't really been doing or thinking about when it comes to actually using AI to help us. Do you expect them to come into this market sooner rather than later? Do you feel like they'll kind of let the applications take care of this?
Well, Apple does the iOS. I mean, in the new iOS, you can have Siri answer the phone for you. I did it the other day, and I think the person just hung up immediately.
It's pretty simplistic.
It's pretty simplistic, right? So they're starting to edge into it already.
And you can do a call recording and get a transcript on it, but it shows up in the Notes app, which is blasphemously kludgy these days. So, yeah, obviously they're not experts in AI either.
Yeah, I think it's wasted potential for both of these companies because there are absolutely amazing experiences to be created if you control the OS with AI. I feel like it's kind of like a widespread feeling in the industry right now where we're all wondering what they're up to and why hasn't this gotten any better. I do think that they will catch up. I do think that I don't see a reason why Apple or Google won't get even better. Actually, Android is a lot better than Apple on the AI at the OS level. What we're discovering though is, I think and one of the product theory that I always have is that I think it's easier to grow into usage than to start from usage. So if you start building with an OS that already has 1 billion daily active users or 2 billion, and you're trying to build these features, you're trying to build them to please 1 billion or 2 billion. You're not growing into that base. And as soon as you push something, it's live for everyone. So how much depth can you really cover when you're that horizontal? Can you actually build for specific workflows of people? One of the insights we have in the product is that context is leveraged to be shared with teams. I don't think Apple went into making even macOS or iOS functional as like a business tool, or that they would bring the concept of teams within what they build, while it is the core of what we offer and becomes the core value as we progress into this unopinionated way of going about things. That's what we keep uncovering, is that the shared context within the team, the collaboration features are the key to grow the product further and to expand into the product market fit. So even though they could, and they probably will add more AI, in the details of their execution and in the details of where we're growing with the product market fit, I don't think it will actually merge or become too competitive that we don't have a shot at existing.
Support for this show comes from Mercury. When you're building a business, you need banking that moves with you and helps you build momentum. As someone who just started a media company, trust me, this is super important. With Mercury, banking is so much more than a place to store your money. It's a platform that helps you push your business forward. I use Mercury every day, and I love how powerful but easy the platform is to use. It's fast and designed for how businesses actually work. From one place, you can send payments to contractors around the world, invoice clients and track what you're owed, and even manage team spend without extra tools. With a clear view of money coming in and going out, you can see precisely where you stand so you know what to do next. Whatever you want to do with your money, Mercury makes it feel effortless. Visit Mercury.com to join over 200,000 entrepreneurs like me who love Mercury. Mercury is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided through Choice Financial Group and Column NA members FDIC.
It's a good point about not just AI, but about built for work is something that Apple, at least, is not quite as good at. I mean, it's just funny to imagine that everybody at Apple is like, are they using Slack or are they just using iMessage to communicate? Are they using Pages and Keynote? I believe that they are, which have pretty, ancient collaborative tools, and I don't even think they have comments. And meanwhile, definitely a little bit of a different situation for Google, where they make so much of their money from a lot of this stuff. But to your point, I mean, even with Gemini being added to Chrome, it's one more button amongst 50 buttons. And even what you were saying about the Virgil Abloh quote, I mean, it just reminds me of my time at the browser company, where you want to do so much because you see so many problems and so many opportunities. And so you create this incredible browser with all these new things. But at the end of the day, if people can't get used to the vertical sidebar, it's kind of a non-starter because you went too far over that 3%. And I mean, I'm curious, like, for the people who are using Beside, like, what is the magic moment that is most valuable, that hits them quickest when they start using it?
The onboarding for a business is consumer grade, leveraging all the best practice of all the top consumer product building, where we know how scarce attention is during onboarding, how quickly people can drop, and how easy we have to make that. So we're able to get people to experience the core value of the product quite fast on their own data by doing a really good website scraper. So we're able to extract all the information about their business, pre-fill that AI receptionist during onboarding. So when you finish the onboarding, you're actually having your first conversation with the AI receptionist that already has data on your business and can already answer quite a bunch of questions as if you were a customer. And the second
so you
thing
just add your website, and Beside scrapes all the information for you that's publicly available and uses that to build the bot.
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. and then we call forward your phone to Beside, meaning that your existing phone number that you've already adopted actually redirects to Beside. So that's sort of like, you're going to have all of your next calls within the app. You're going to discover the transcriber. You're going to discover the call summary. You're going to see all these things from there. So these are the two tricks that leads to adoption in the easiest possible way in discovering the core value prop of the product.
I was going to say, does this force you to be a green bubble though, Max? I don't know if you could put a price on that in terms of the barriers to entry and retention.
Yeah, we're a green bubble, Ellis. It's a green bubble world. There is no blue bubble royalty potential in this. And we talked about it earlier. I remember you made me freak out with that blue bubble world early in the company. Turns out it's actually fine. People are okay. I haven't received a support message on the blue bubble.
Well, how much of the real economy? I mean, I bet you the ratio is quite different for Android versus iPhone.
So the people getting into the product are often the business owners. They're all on iPhones, but we had to build Android because the moment they want to invite the team, you enter that like 50-50 split where it's Android, iOS 50-50, yeah.
So if I use Beside, if I really use it, I am not sending blue bubbles anymore.
You're sending green bubbles.
Okay, interesting.
I think the idea, though, is that it would be like your work number, right? I mean, how do you handle those different phone numbers, Max? I mean, do you think the idea is that this just becomes your one phone number over time, and Beside is your phone app, your messages app, your MVNO carrier? Is that kind of the vision?
the people who adopt it already had adopted their phone number as their business number, so their life is kind of like spread across, business context and personal context in the product. They do like to see that they can have multiple phone numbers in the product, so they will actually separate the two within the product, or just adopt the beside number and keep theirs at the OS level, and play with that. The closest competition, when you think about it, is Meta and WhatsApp for business. Because in many ways, this is what Facebook or Meta is pushing actually with WhatsApp for business, and those interactions are there. So when I think about the big tech players, it's more than it is Google, more than it is Apple. The real competition is actually WhatsApp for business, because the adoption of WhatsApp for business is huge, and they're really good at bringing AI into the product, and it's quite used. The thing there is people are still searching for businesses on Google, and they're still using phone numbers. Google is not pushing for WhatsApp numbers there. So you still have 50% of business communication happening over the phone and not on WhatsApp. But at the product thinking level, WhatsApp for business is the closest that serve the same type of needs that our customers have.
I'm curious about the note-taking aspect of this. That was the first thing that kind of came up when I downloaded your Mac app. I've got 3 apps in my dock that will do AI note-taking for meetings: Notion, Granola, ChatGPT, and then Google Meet will do it. I was in a meeting the other day, a Zoom, where there were 3 individual AI note-taking apps in the call, from 3 different providers. It's super crowded. Is the way that you get into this and you have defensibility because you're actually replacing like the phone number? And so if someone's going to buy into that concept, they're going to use you for note taking because you're playing that kind of game with the context that you have that no one else has?
I would see it more from the motion that we have on the go-to-market and who we have product market fit with today. So we're actually on desktop not even interested in bringing our crowd, and the crowd that we're bringing never heard about Notion, never heard about Granola. They have no idea that these things even exist. They never seen a call recorder before, though sometimes half of their calls happen on Google Meet, because they're real estate agent, and sometimes they have to show slides and they have to go through a deck, and they want the context of their conversation, same as what they had on the phone, to live inside the same product. Because if it's scattered among many tools, not everything is connected to their CRM, not everything is updating the tools around, the context is lost for their team. So the lock-in is the context, and then the defensibility is just that we're going after a type of audience that is absolutely not the one of the other winners. So when you look at our product from the tech lens, it's another competitor to Granola, another competitor to Notion Recorder. But if you look at it from the motion of who is actually adopting that product on macOS, the audience is actually completely different.
Just say, Alex, it's not for you. It's not for you, Alex. You're not a member of the real economy. You just sit there in a puffy vest and tweet and write on Substack.
I just use Granola.
Sorry, buddy.
Which is great. They've done, like, Granola is an amazing product.
Well, so another technical thing that a lot of these services have in common that you'll really need to succeed at is memory. I feel like it's kind of fake when companies say today that they understand everything that you've ever said and do, with the context windows being where they are still inherently limited. What are you seeing with that? And how are you trying to build better memory systems?
Yeah, so that's a use case that we discovered is not used by our users. They don't prompt their brain, or they don't prompt their context as much as we would, because we're probably using it for creative outputs, or to write something, or to communicate. For them, the accuracy that really matters is the call summary. It is the ability to take the right action in their CRM, sharing the context with their team, and they have very little use case for the prompting the AI, or what they want to do is like edit their settings or like share something to someone or us doing a call for them, but less so asking specific question about the memory. I do think it is something we need to solve, because as we expand, I don't think we're going to stay limited to the real economy. There is more we want to do, and we want to go beyond that.
To the
And
fake
where we
economy.
want to go to our fake economy. I want to break into our tech bubble. I don't, you know, it is part of the American dream to get there. But but I think the way for us and the way we've thought about it is that many of the note takers are basically storage of notes and information, and they are made to be prompted because that's the only value you can get out of them today. We only wonder, based on that context, what are the actions we can automatically take for you? How do we make that context very much alive in your experience, in your operating system? If we're going to meet again in a week, I want to have a clear meeting prep note based on our past conversation. If I committed to sharing a doc with you, I want this doc to have been shared automatically by the AI. And I think the live context of conversation, when you start thinking about it not in terms of like storage of notes, but what you can actually take in terms of action on behalf of the users from the context you've captured, and what are the things that you can start automating in these workflows and the value you can deliver, I think you start going away from an only notes and prompting the notes world to the missing context to feel closer to AGI.
What about on the customer side, though, when they're asking a priest power user questions about the Bible? I mean, if you want to put the whole Bible in there, why not? But can your product search for it? I mean, I feel like that's something I'm still not seeing, like with any AI products reliably, is actually being able to search for information in a way that works.
Yeah. So I think when they input some of these things, it knows that they exist, but then it relies on the model itself having in memory all of that. We don't have a tool calling that would search the web, for example, on the AI Receptionist. That is not something that we've built. I'm not sure we'll ever build it, or that will actually be a clear need. So when people go off what's in the knowledge of the AI Receptionist, I think it just falls back to the model knowledge and the model training data.
Yeah, I feel like this use case in particular is just so helpful for folks like the ones that you've heroed. People who are not as good note takers as reporters like Alex and I, and just need to remember all this stuff. But I mean, is there some limit to like how far back you can go memory wise with like your calls, asking things from the past? What are some insights that all my customers are telling me? Things like that really rely on like a huge data set to help move the business forward, or is that not really on the table yet?
No, I think like that's the evolution from where we're at to where we're going. And there, I think until it's fully ready.
So that may be thousands and thousands of calls, right?
Yeah. Well, there I think you enter more custom prompting, RAG building, and you're actually probably building the product around the limitation of the memory or of the model. And as you build that, or as you invest there, it's just going to be solved 6 months, 12 months from now from the model itself. So that's the way we approach it, is that there are some things where we are wondering if we should invest time into building, because they might just solve 6
Might
months.
fix itself.
Yeah.
How do you
so
think about
crazy,
that?
isn't it?
Yeah. A lot of people are going through that right now and thinking about, that, and how do you build a company for AGI if that's going to happen, or just the models being able to replicate your company potentially.
Yeah. One, I'm excited, I think, because if we get there, what it means is absolutely amazing, and the technological progress we would have made. Uh, I am very grateful and lucky to be alive at that time and in the industry, on the field, because that's the most exciting of times, in my opinion. But beyond that, the importance of unique context that you need to capture. So there are contexts that you're going to be able to capture through an API. There is context that you'll be able to capture because you can build a macOS recorder like everyone is doing. But then there's going to be unique, highly valuable context. The phone context is particularly valuable because what you need to do to capture phone conversation is extremely hard. To me, the only defensibility as you go is going to be, for us, the consumer grade experience, because if you don't have that DNA built into the team, and if you were coming from the B2B world or the SaaS world, it's going to be extremely hard to rewire your brain to consumer product design, product building, and product distribution. The other part is finding the right data that other players are not going to easily capture, which for us is the phone.
One of the questions we'd like to ask as you're thinking about the future is, what do you optimize for? I know you can look at any number of things, from call length, call volume, how many questions people are asking, their conversion with customers, how many callbacks.
A conversion to a religion.
Yeah, conversion to a religion. You could be the first. What are you optimizing for?
Accuracy of actions we can take. Did your customer get a great interaction with the voicemail receptionist? Were we able to properly book in your calendar the call that they ask? When you come back to the product, you read a past conversation. Does the summary look accurate? So the value of the product becomes extremely passive as we go. So what really matters is that we're able to measure the accuracy of the action we take on your behalf as a user, and get as close to 100% as possible on as many as we can.
Yeah, speaking of those actions, I mean, it just makes me think a lot of those actions were, for many people, taken by humans in the past, whether it's, a scheduler, whether it's at a hair salon or a car dealership or otherwise. Serving the real economy, growing up in the real economy, I think you know where I'm going with this. What's your latest thinking about, the jobs being lost, replaced, changing for these people?
What we've seen so far is that we were more coming as a help to people who are already very busy and could not actually delegate to someone. I don't think we've entered a place where we've replaced anyone. What I see is we deliver value for a lot of people where they can actually offer better human-to-human experience. If you've ever been to this super high luxury hotel where they have concierge, you give your name once, you give your preferences once, and that's it. You won't have to repeat yourself, and you will just flow through your experience. And I think that's the beauty of what we can offer. People feel more cared for, the interactions become more meaningful, and there's really beauty in that, because as a human, you can't actually do that if you don't have some machine help.
So one more question for you, Max, before we let you go. Who do you think has the best taste in tech right now?
It's a good question.
And don't say Johnny Ive boat lamp.
No. It could be Jack Dorsey, to be honest. I really love his latest. And then there's Antoine. You know Antoine Martin from Amo. He's probably, the taste goat of consumer.
Well, we don't talk about Jack nearly enough. What's Jack doing right that you see?
He's still focused on Square. He's also big on Bitcoin at the moment. He also built a messaging app that works with Bluetooth devices. And I really enjoy how he always comes down to at some point he does all these big things and just comes back and code himself a little app and start a movement with it. I just find it really cool that he just gets down to this low level in the arena and just restart from scratch and seems to be excited about it. yeah, I find this to be inspiring.
Some people think he's Satoshi. Have you heard that, Max?
That he is Satoshi?
Ain't no
Yeah.
fucking way.
Yeah,
No way.
that's a rumor.
No way.
All right, well, let's leave it there. Max, thank you so much for coming on Access. We'll chat soon.
Chat soon.
Nice to meet you, Max.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks to Max for coming on the show.
Oh my God, that's what I was going to do. We are a new show, so please follow, like, subscribe everywhere you get the podcasts. You can also find us in video via Access Pod on YouTube.
If you like this episode, please subscribe, leave a 5-star review, a great review, a glowing review, a thumbs up. Share it with a friend, even better.
And you can find me at Hamburger on Twitter and at meaning.company. He did give us permission to do this, right, Alex?
I
think he
doing
did.
this. You can find me at sources.news, my newsletter on Substack.
Access is part of the Vox Media Podcast Network, and this show is produced by Hooked Creators.
Bye.
Au revoir!
Support for the show comes from Mercury. Growing as a business means being able to evolve and adapt with the changing times. So when it comes to finances, you need a partner who can adapt with you and let you do anything with your money. Banking, cards, spend management, invoicing, and more. With Mercury, you can do it all from one place, tailored to you and your business. It's banking at its most intuitive. Trust me, I use Mercury every day to run my business. Visit Mercury.com to join over 200,000 entrepreneurs who use Mercury. Mercury is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided through Choice Financial Group and Column N A, members FDIC.